Okay, we have the 2-minute warning. Please be seated, and we're going to start in 2 minutes. Thank you.
Why don't you move over here, sir?
They're all standing up there.
You're stepping on the
They might fall asleep. Thank you for helping me, guys. I appreciate it.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to welcome you and thank all of you for joining us on this Memorial Day 2014 celebration. My name is John Anderson. I'm a trustee with the Mount Soledad Memorial Association. The inspiring music that you've been listening to and will hear throughout today's program is from the MCRD Brass Quintet, led by Staff Sergeant Kevin Owes. Now please stand as we invite the Marine Corps Recruit Depot Color Guard to present the colors. Color Guard, march on.
Carry, color. Ready, set. Right turn, march. Forward, march. Right turn. Punch. Color guard. Hold. Freeze and color.
At this time, I'd like to invite the 2014 Veterans of the Year, Dick Leister from the Mount Soledad Veteran Memorial Association Veteran of the Year, and Randy McLean, San Diego County 2014 Veteran of the Year, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Dick and Randy, we're honored to have you here with us today.
Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Dick and Randy. Now please remain standing as we're joined by the La Jolla Country Day School Madrigal Singers, conducted by choral music director Carrie Deach, in the singing of our national anthem.
Twilight's last gleaming, those broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight. For the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, came through the night, and our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
Not only is Carrie an outstanding choral director, she's also the wife of the Marines. Color guard, retire the colors.
Carry. Color. Ready. Cut. Right turn. Punch. Forward. Punch.
Please be seated. At this time, I would like to invite MCRD Chaplain Commander James Johnson to conduct our invocation. Prior to his current post as MCRD Chaplain, Commander Johnson served on 3 amphibious ships, served at 3 overseas duty stations, easy for me to say, and was deployed to Iraq. So welcome, Commander.
Let us pray. God of grace and glory, we humbly invoke your presence at this gathering. Be with us and with our nation as we pay tribute to servicemen and women who fought and made the ultimate sacrifice for our country. Gathering for such an occasion raises our awareness, renews our appreciation, and refreshes our hearts. This occurs because, miraculously, this place and this day bring us together, not only with those we see, but also with the great cloud of witnesses who have gone before us, who in their selfless, noble service have immeasurably blessed us. Today we put a name on that uniform and proclaim the breadth and length and height and depth of courage and commitment shown by Sergeant Rafael Peralta. In the military, we call that uncommon valor. Holy Scripture calls it the greatest love. Mount Soledad always, like Memorial Day annually, delivers a vast panorama, an amazing four-dimensional perspective. This day, this place, this ceremony, Sergeant Peralta, all call us to remember. Rightly remembering is not a wistful or sentimental pondering of the past. To rightly remember is to powerfully embrace and be embraced by yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Lord, on this holiday and always, help us dare to remember rightly. Help us to remember to look back with reverence, to look around with gratitude and grace. Remember to look within with purpose and resolve. Remember to look ahead with hope. And remember to look up with faith. For your glory and for the sake of freedom. We pray, we serve, we love, and we live eternally in your name and in the shadow of your cross. Amen and amen.
Thank you, Commander Johnson. It's now my privilege to introduce our MC for today's program, Chris Merrill. Chris is a popular host of The Voice of Merrill, heard weekday mornings on KOGO Radio 600. His passion to entertain and unique perspectives on current events combined to create one of the San Diego region's highest energy radio shows. Please join me in welcome to the podium, Mr. Chris Merrill.
Thank you, and thank you for the opportunity to be here. They asked that I offer some opening remarks, and I thought, thank you. So I thought that rather than waste your time and my breath, I would instead read something else that was written by someone far more eloquent than I. You may recall it from the last stanza of the Star-Spangled Banner by Francis Scott Key. Oh, thus be it ever, when free men shall stand between their loved homes and the war's desolation, blessed with victory and peace, may the heaven-rescued land praise the power that hath made and preserved us a nation. Then conquer we must, for our cause it is just, and this be our motto: in God is our trust. And the Star-Spangled Banner in triumph shall wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave. I thought that was far better than anything I could have possibly written, so I thought I'd just credit Francis Scott Key with it. Thank you very much. Thank you. The honor is all mine to introduce to you the Vice President of the Mount Soledad Memorial Association, Mr. Tony Anthony. He's been a major participant with the association, working on many committees and designing some of the plaques that you see up here today. After beginning his Marine Corps career as enlisted infantry in 1955, Tony Anthony retired as Lieutenant Colonel in 1997. During the course of his career, his specialties included infantry, recruiting, communications officer, legal administrative officer, and military police. He retired with many military honors, including 2 Purple Hearts in 1997 from a career spanning 42 years. In addition to his extensive service to Mount Soledad, Tony Anthony is active with several military and Marine Corps organizations. He served as president 3 times and as a board member emeritus of the MCRD Museum Foundation and a former board member of the Marine Corps Mustang Association. Please welcome Mr. Tony Anthony.
Let me just say welcome to this tremendously fine audience on this very important day at this extraordinary tribute to veterans living and deceased, from the Revolutionary War to the current conflicts in the War on Terror. Our association's CEO and president, Bruce Bailey, is not in attendance at today's ceremony, and for a very good reason. He is serving as an escort to a small delegation of Return to Normandy World War II paratroopers to the 70th anniversary commemoration of D-Day in Normandy, France. One of the Return to Normandy paratroopers, Mr. Bill Galbraith, 90 years young, will receive the French Foreign Legion of Honor Award. Also in the delegation is Return to Normandy Vice President Mr. Max Gurney. We wish them well on their travels. I would like to recognize a number of our guests today. I would like them to raise their hand as I call their name, and please, no applause until all have been introduced. On our dais, in the first row, from my right, To your left, we have our MC, of course, Chris Merrill, John Anderson, who you've already heard from, our keynote speaker, Brigadier General James Bierman. We have our San Diego Mayor, Kevin Faulkner. Also, we have Nick Jones, who will commemorate his fellow Marine, Sergeant Peralta. Sergeant Major Neil O'Connell, United States Marine Corps retired, and trustee of the Mount Soledad Memorial Association. Robert Reynolds also is to speak of his service with Sergeant Peralta. Next to him is Staff Sergeant Adam Morrison. He too served with Sergeant Peralta and will be speaking to us a little bit later. We have the Rosa Peralta, the mother of Sergeant Raphael Peralta. We also have Sergeant Peralta's brother, Ricardo. He also served as a Marine. We have Marcella Donald and Karen Peralta, sisters of Sergeant Peralta. And of course we have Chaplain James Johnson. In row 2, we have Dick Leister on your far right, Mount Soledad Memorial Association Veteran of the Year, Randy McLean, San Diego County Veteran of the Year, Congresswoman Susan Davis, Congressman Duncan Hunter, Congressman Scott Peters, Congressman Darrell Issa, Congressman Juan Vargas, San Diego County District Attorney Bonnie DeMantis. That's your second row. No applause, please. Row 3. Seated on the far right is Colonel Jay Vargas, Medal of Honor recipient from Vietnam. We have San Diego County Supervisor Dave Roberts, San Diego City Council President Todd Gloria, San Diego City Council Representative Sherry Leitner, San Diego City Council Representative Ed Harris, San Diego City Council Representative Marty Emerald, County Assessor Ernie Dronenberg. Please, hand of applause, please. With all these high-ranking officials in the Marine Corps, we wouldn't want that many to gather. We say one round would get them all. One grenade would get them all, that's for sure. We have a lot of people here. So again, thank you for attending. I would also like to recognize members of our audience and will ask them to stand as I introduce them. But again, please hold your applause. First of all, the one I want to recognize are Gold Star mothers. Do we have any Gold Star mothers here today? If you were there, please stand. If not, how about family members other than Gold Star mothers? For example, husbands, the wives, fathers, brothers, and sisters of those who gave all in service to their country. Please stand. They deserve a special applause. Thank you. Please be seated. We have Richard Nathanson, Vice Chairman of the United Veterans Council. We have our new San Diego Chief of Police, Shelley Zimmerman. We also have Beth Bierman, who's the wife of the general. Is she here? She didn't make it today, but she's here in spirit. Is she here? There's Beth. Welcome. Did your children come with you? Well, they can raise their hands too. We also have San Diego Fire Chief Javier Maynor. Yay. San Diego Assistant Fire Chief Brian Fennessy. And of course, we're very thankful for all that they did in the recent fires that we had here in the North County of San Diego. Yay. We have Nick Jones, wife, Faith, and their 2 daughters. Could they raise their hands, please? Go ahead and stand. There you go. Also, we have Staff Sergeant Morrison's wife, and I believe it's the daughter as well. Could you please stand? Yeah. We also have a lot of family and special friends of the Peralta family, and I'd like for you to stand at this time as well. Thank you very much. We also have with us today Jeff Mateer of the Liberty Institute, the Dallas, Texas-based law firm representing pro bono Mount Soledad Memorial Association. Okay, I just received a note that I missed one of our council members, Scott Sherman. Where are you, Scott? We don't want to miss anyone. And of course, the rest of you are all VIPs as well. There are a lot of good things happening at this memorial. Within 2 weeks, we will initiate the project of bringing power to the site, which has now been approved by the Navy, by the city, and SDG&E. This has been a long time coming, and we're finally going to get it. By the middle of June, we will have a beautiful mural on the south wall, the east side of the property, graphically announcing this memorial as the Mount Soledad National Veterans Memorial. In addition, each symbol of the 5 branches of service will be clearly identified with the year the branch of service was founded. There are now more than 3,600 plaques honoring veterans on these walls. We have started installing plaques on one of the 4 walls on the east side of the property, as all the spaces on this side of the memorial are almost filled. Regarding the cross litigation, which I'm sure you're interested in hearing about, we are now in the appeal process with the 9th Circuit Court of Appeals. And we believe there's a very good possibility that the Supreme Court will hear this case and resolve the future of the cross. There is also legislation that might potentially turn the memorial over to the Mount Soledad Memorial Association. As you all know, we receive no funding from the federal government. So our operations are maintained through the sale of plaques, memberships, and donations of the association. If you have a veteran who you would like honored, please make sure that you contact someone here. We have people in the back here at the booths, and they'd be happy to help you out if you're interested in doing so. I'm going to ask that you now please stand as we proceed with the wreath presentation to World War II veterans Carl Dustin and Al Weaver, both of whom were former trustees of the Mount Soledad Memorial Association. The wreath will be delivered to Carl and Al by members of the Navy Sea Cadets and Eagle Young Marines. The MCRD Band Brass Quintet will play the Navy hymn, followed by Echo Taps and the Honor Guard salute. Actually, we will have the salute, and then we will have taps following the salute. Please be seated. And now I would like to turn the program back to our Master of Ceremonies, Bruce Merrill.
It is my pleasure to introduce to you today our new San Diego Mayor, Kevin Faulkner. Particularly honored to welcome Mayor Faulkner, as this is a continuation of his long-term support of the Mount Soledad National Veterans Memorial. He's been with us at our major events for many, many years. Now, Mayor Faulkner is the first sitting city council member to have been elected mayor of San Diego in more than 50 years, and he was sworn into office in a special election February the 11th of this year. Please join me in welcoming Mayor Kevin Faulkner.
Good afternoon, and thank you. I am deeply honored to be here in Mount Soledad on this Memorial Day. San Diego County is the proud home to one of the largest communities of veterans in the entire country, with more than 240,000 veterans making their home here. These men and women put their lives on the line to defend this country so we can enjoy the rights and privileges that we have today. They deserve our heartfelt gratitude and our sincere thanks. And as all of us know, unfortunately, there are far too many men and women who are not able to be here in person today. That's because they made the ultimate sacrifice. They gave up lives filled with endless potential and possibility. They gave up their dreams and aspirations so that others can fulfill their dreams and aspirations. That's a tremendous and priceless gift that all of us cherish. One of those who made that sacrifice is Sergeant Rafael Peralta, who is being recognized today. Because of him, a couple of men behind me are here today. Peralta's dream will now live through them. And to Rafael's family, I want to say thank you on behalf of all of San Diego. Sergeant Peralta will never be forgotten. And one way we ensure that our fallen soldiers are remembered is this memorial at Mount Soledad. It is a sacred place that all of us must protect. These walls ensure the bravery of these men and women are enshrined for all time and commemorates what they did for our country. San Diego is a better place because of people like Sergeant Rafael Peralta and the men and women that risked their lives, and all of those that continue to risk their lives for us each and every single day. God bless you. Thank you very much.
If I may invite Sherry Leitner, Council Representative to District 1, County Supervisor Dave Roberts, District 3, and Ron Roberts, with proclamations to be presented here today.
It's a privilege to be here today to help honor our veterans. I am joined by some of my colleagues from the City of San Diego, including, you've already heard from him, the Honorable Mayor Faulkner, the Honorable Council President Todd Gloria, and the Honorable Council Member Ed Harris from District 2, a former Marine. You're supposed to go hoorah. Hoorah. Are there any Marines here? Okay. The Honorable Councilmember Scott Sherman from District 7, the Honorable Councilmember Marty Emerald from District 9. We want to thank all of you for your service and sacrifices and give a special acknowledgement and thanks to the Mount Soledad Memorial Association volunteers who make this event possible. Please give them a thank you, a donation, and a round of applause. With that, it is an honor to present this proclamation, which after a number of whereases, proclaims the Council of the City of San Diego for and on behalf of the people of San Diego, does hereby declare May 26, 2014 to be Mount Soledad Veterans Memorial Observance Day in the city of San Diego. Thank you again and Godspeed.
And I'm County Supervisor Dave Roberts, and I can't tell you how pleased I am to be here representing the County of San Diego. On a World War II memorial over in Europe honoring Americans, it says, when you go home, tell them that for your tomorrows, we gave our todays. The County of San Diego understands that, and Supervisor Ron Roberts and myself sponsored this proclamation. And on behalf of Chairwoman Diane Jacob and all members of the San Diego County Board of Supervisors, including Ron Roberts and Dave Roberts, we proclaim this day to commend the Mount Soledad Memorial Association for their outstanding commitment to honoring veterans on Memorial Day, and do hereby declare this day to be Mount Soledad Veterans Memorial Celebration Day throughout the County of San Diego. And we also brought a certificate of recognition for the family of Sergeant Rafael Peralta, who many live in my supervisorial district in the wonderful city of Escondido. But on behalf of the County Board of Supervisors, we present this proclamation.
It is now my privilege, and please join me in welcoming Congressman Duncan Hunter, who represents California's 50th Congressional District. Congressman Hunter been on the front lines of attempting to have the Medal of Honor awarded to Sergeant Peralta. He, in fact, helped make it possible for the Mount Soledad Memorial Association to be connected with the Peralta family, and also Nick Jones and Robert Reynolds, as well as Staff Sergeant Adam Morrison, whose lives saved by Sergeant Peralta. Congressman Hunter, a native of San Diego, joining the Marine Corps shortly after our nation attacked September 11, 2001. He served 3 combat tours overseas, 2 in Iraq, 1 in Afghanistan, and today Congressman Hunter continues his military service as a Marine reservist. Please join me in welcoming to the podium Congressman Hunter.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Let me start off by saying, those of you that brought your kids and your families here and people that couldn't drive themselves, let's say 15 and under, thank you. That means a lot. That's what it's all about. It's about pushing down to that next generation and letting them know the sacrifices who went before them. Let me tell you, this is my personal take on Memorial Day. Veterans Day, we honor those of us who served, especially in a combat environment. People like our family, our friends, my father, my grandfathers, my brother, many of those up here on stage and out there in the crowd. But Memorial Day is special because we honor our warrior class today. America has the greatest warrior class of young men and women that the world has ever seen in its history. You have people who charged machine gun nests, kicked open doors, hit with direct fire and killed in combat, shot before they ever heard the report of the weapon, blown up by IEDs, those evil improvised explosive devices that the cowards use who we fight now. Either you step on one or you drive over one. They were ambushed in a humid jungle. They were shot on a frozen road in Korea. And they even jumped on grenades with their comrades in arms. And these warriors, throughout the cold, the heat, the insects, the sickness, so a lot of them killed scores of enemy before they drew their last breath. And I'll tell you, in the absolute mayhem and chaos, many of those we honor today gave their lives directly for another person. All of us here today know exactly what Rafael Peralta did. We know, and we know in our hearts. This community has fought for him more than any other, and we still believe in him, and we pay tribute, special tribute to him today. To the Peraltas, thank you for raising a warrior and a patriot. Thank you. Let me stress this. Sergeant Peralta was not a victim. He was not a victim. Revel in the memory of a young man who came to this country and wanted to join the Marine Corps and kicked down a door and then pulled a grenade under his body to save his fellow Marines. There is nothing more American than that. Nothing. We don't, let me just tell you, thank you. We don't glorify warfare here today. We don't glamorize it. In fact, those of us that have been there know it's not very glamorous once you're in it. You're dirty, you're cold, you're hot, you're tired, you're always tired. But we do it anyway. And especially those people in my generation, people like the Peraltas, Ricardo, and Rafael, we were not drafted. We knew what post 9/11 meant. Every single person serving in the U.S. military right now knows that they will go see combat. They know it, and they chose, because they are part of America's warrior class. The Vikings, the Comanches, the Aztecs, the Spartan warriors. For these people, death in battle was their highest honor. People like me, when I was a kid, I read stories and watched movies about classes like that of people and said, I want to do that. I want to fight for my country. I want to prove that I'm brave and courageous, and I can get out there and get the job done so my kids won't have to. But I'll tell you what, beyond being the greatest class of warriors this earth has ever seen, we're also special, because we don't fight for the same reason that all of those groups fought. Here's what we do differently. We don't take from others. We fight to set men free. That's what separates us in history and throughout history from those groups. Americans fight to set free. We fight so that others may recognize their freedom and independence and throw off the chains of tyranny and despotism. It's idealistic, but that's why we do it. Today we don't honor victims. Peralta was not a victim. We honor our warrior class. We honor and grieve for the families who have given us such great patriots, and we set aside our daily distractions, if just for a moment, and realize in that stillness that if not for men and women such as these, we would not have that to which we cling to so perilously, and that is our freedom. God bless you, and God bless the men and women whose shoulders upon which we stand in this great country. Thank you, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Congressman. I'd like to introduce, if I may, 3 Marine veterans, Nick Jones, Robert Reynolds, Staff Sergeant Adam Morrison, whose lives saved by the outstanding Marine that we honor today, Sergeant Rafael Peralta. Both Robert Reynolds, Nick Jones, joined the Marines 2001. Both earned the Purple Heart in 2004. Mr. Reynolds joins us from his home in Ritzville, Washington, where he works as a corrections officer for the Adams County Sheriff's Department, serves as a volunteer firefighter, and is the commander of VFW Post 11446. Nick Jones left active duty just last year, currently works as a deputy sheriff assigned to the Palm Desert Station for the Riverside County Sheriff's Department. As for Staff Sergeant Morrison, currently staff non-commissioned officer in charge for Special Operations Training Group, Assault Climber Section. Mr. Jones, Mr. Reynolds, Staff Sergeant Morrison, we are honored by your service, and we welcome you to our commemoration today.
Today is a solid reminder of what Sergeant Peralta did for myself, these 2 outstanding Marines behind me. I don't go a day without thinking about Sergeant Peralta. Neither does my 10-year-old son, 8-year-old daughter, 5-year-old daughter. Sergeant Peralta is the only one that I know of in Iraq that actually had his camis pressed. To me, that's a true leader. You know, he wanted to look his best. And these 2 gentlemen behind me can contest to that. He also stood post on November 14, so his junior Marines can get some much needed sleep. As a sergeant, he didn't have to do that, but he did. And then that faithful day, our lives were forever changed. We always hear about those stories in boot camp, and every Marine here can contest to it, about Marines jumping on grenades to save their buddies. Well, November 15, 2004, my Marine brother, Sergeant Rafael Peralta, did that. And I am forever grateful for him for doing that. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Staff Sergeant Adam Morrison. I'm coming from Camp Pendleton up at Camp Orno. Sergeant Rafael Peralta, how Mr. Reynolds mentioned how he stood post that night. He stood post for me. I was a junior Marine. And I can tell you, I got in trouble a lot when I was a junior Marine because I couldn't understand him, to be honest with you. And he was a great Marine. When I look at him, when I look at Mr. Reynolds and Mr. Jones, I am the Marine who I am today from their leadership. I'm a reflection of leadership. And I am the father that I am today because of Sergeant Rafael Peralta saving my life. I was less than 2 meters away from the grenade. I watched him pull the grenade. I have shrapnel from that grenade in my leg. There was no doubt in my mind that he pulled that grenade underneath me. I can tell you as an active duty Marine right now, his name is legendary. He is mentioned in boot camp by the drill instructors to the recruit. He is mentioned to the students at Infantry Training Battalion and Marine Combat Training Battalion up at School of Infantry. He is mentioned throughout the fleet in the infantry, whether it's Camp Orno with the 1st Marines or at Camp Mateo with the 5th Marines, even 7th Marines and 4th Marines, also 3rd Marines in Hawaii. He's legendary. There's chow halts, there's ships, there's Marines all over the place. Ask me, what was he like as a Marine? So I'm here to tell you, thank you, Park, for Sean Peralta. And I'm also speaking on behalf of my wife, my love, my sweetheart from high school, Diana, and our sons, Roman, Pace, and Tatum. Thank you for what he did for me.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I've been asked to speak today on behalf of Sergeant Rafael Peralta. But what can I say? What can I say that his actions haven't already said for themselves? Through his actions, Peralta reminds us that Memorial Day is not a day for barbecues. It's not a day to ring in the summer or get a good deal on a car. Today is a day of ceremonies and speeches. Today, throughout America, we will honor the dead of our wars. Today, we will tell the stories of their valor, their sacrifices, and we will remember that they lived and died defending a nation that will never forget them. Peralta's actions on November 15, 2004 are not an indication of how he wanted to leave, but more about how he wanted to live. Rafael didn't care about medals. He didn't care about getting a pat on the back or a pay raise. He cared about 3 things: his family, both his family at home and his brothers alongside him; his faith, knowing that he wasn't afraid of what might happen because no matter what happened to his body on earth, his soul was prepared; and his country. In a day and age where people speak of this country and they don't truly understand what it means. Our country is not comprised of states. It's not just comprised of one nation, one nationality, or one government. Our country is a people. It's a living, breathing entity that grows stronger by the virtues of those who will unselfishly give their lives in defense of it. Rafael was not fighting for a president or a government. He was fighting for the greatest country this world has ever seen. He believed in the United States. He knew that if anyone threatened harm to our country, that someone was going to have to stand up and fight. And he never once hesitated to stand up and take that fight to the enemy. President Abraham Lincoln reminded us that through their deeds, the dead have spoken more eloquently for themselves than any of the living ever could. On this Memorial Day, I ask that we don't try to speak on their behalf. We instead honor them by rededicating ourselves to the cause which they so willingly gave the last full measure of devotion. Rafael believed in this country enough to give his life for it. He gave his life because he knew this was worth fighting for. If we do only one thing today, make this country worth it. Make this country worth the sacrifices of the hundreds of thousands of men and women who have gone before us to make America what it is today. Today, we remember those who paid the ultimate price in order to protect our most precious right, our right to freedom. Freedom is a right, but it comes with a price. Rafael understood that price. Rafa, your death will never be in vain. Your sacrifice will forever be remembered by all who knew you and the thousands more who only know your story. You fought the good fight. Rest easy, brother. Ladies and gentlemen, we live in a land of the free because of the brave. The Marines, sailors, soldiers, and airmen who have given everything they had to protect that flag and the nation that it represents. Rafael's last wish was simple, but it will not be easy. He didn't want to go out in a blaze of glory or even be remembered for the way he died. He didn't want the recognition or the fanfare associated with his extraordinary act of heroism. He simply wanted his actions to make a difference. I stand here today as a true living testament that his actions have allowed me to raise my children and continue to serve in one fashion or another. His actions have made a difference. Memorial Day gives us the opportunity to remember those who gave their lives so we could live ours. On this Memorial Day, I remember Sergeant Rafael Peralta, not for his death, but for his actions in life. And I challenge every one of you to remember and to justify the actions of the heroes of our wars. Let them know that their lives were not wasted. Let them know that you will continue to live a free life in this, the greatest country on earth, because they have paid for us. We will never be able to repay them with our words, only with our actions. I'm thankful for the freedoms that I enjoy, and I will remember the price of those freedoms. If I may, I ask that we stand and take a short silence to remember those who didn't return. Thank you, Rafa. Rest in peace, brother.
Thank you, gentlemen. I'm going to turn the podium over once again to Tony Anthony.
I tell you, if you have any doubt about the caliber of our fighting force out there fighting for us today, you just seen 3 fine representatives. Give them a big hand. At this time, I'm going to ask the Rafael Peralta family to help me unveil the replica of his plaque on the dais. With us today are Sergeant Peralta's mother, Rosa, his sisters, Karen and Isela Donald, as well as brother, Ricardo. So if you please come on down with me, we'll unveil the plaque. Please join me in saluting the Rafael Peralta family. And now we have the brother of Rafael, Ricardo, who has a few short comments. He's not a former Marine, he's a Marine veteran. Because once a Marine, what? Always a Marine! Hurrah!
Good afternoon, everyone. I want to thank everyone for attending. I want to thank the Mount Soledad Memorial Association for this plaque presentation. It's really an honor to be here and remember the great Sergeant Peralta, who made the ultimate sacrifice overseas. This ceremony hits close to home for me. Looking back at the cross, brings up that this time where Sergeant Peralta was baptized Christian. He was a baptized Christian in Iraq before leaving the wire and facing combat. He was extremely religious, so I appreciate this. It's an honor just to be here and even acknowledging like my brother. He was an honorable Marine, a proud 0311 infantry rifleman. He stopped becoming a brother figure and more like an icon, someone that you look up to when you think of General Mattis, Chesty Puller. He's one of the greats now. My family and I always wondered why he wanted to serve, or why he even wanted to go to combat. We never figured out why, until years down the line, I realized that he did this for his country and for the Marine Corps. In his own words, I quote, "I'm proud to be a Marine, a U.S. Marine, and to defend and protect the freedom and Constitution of America." He stated the fact that he was going to make history, and that he did by saving the lives of his fellow Marines. These survivors, I appreciate these survivors attending the ceremony. It's been a long time since I've seen them, but they've told you, you know the story. They can tell you what happened that day that no defense secretary can disprove. And the Navy's cross, his Navy Cross citation says it all. He told me not to worry about him while he was at war, because he was gonna take care of himself. And if anything did happen to him, he just wanted me to know that he already lived his life to the fullest, and he was happy with what he lived. So there's a language barrier with my mother, my Gold Star mom. So I asked her what she wanted me to say on her behalf. The words from my Gold Star mom are, "This is heartbreaking for me, but I'm still grateful for the people who have fought for his honor and are still fighting for him. Us as a family know what he was capable of in his final acts, and there is not more he could have done. Thank you, everyone." So it's from letters, portraits, dog tags, and support from congressmen and caucuses. The family wants to thank everyone for everything. Sergeant Peralta is missed, but not forgotten. His legacy will carry on as long as the Marine Corps stays alive, because he's become a part of Marine Corps history. Once again, thank you for attending, and Semper Fidelis.
Our keynote speaker today is Brigadier General James Bierman, Commander, Marine Corps Recruit Depot and Western Recruiting Region, where he assumed command in July of last year. It is particularly appropriate to have General Bierman, our keynote speaker today, who served at a later date in the command position of the same unit to which Sergeant Peralta had been assigned. He's a graduate of Amphibious Warfare School and the School of Advanced Warfighting. Among his 4 Iraqi deployments, Brigadier General Bierman served as an acting officer during Phase 4 of Operation Iraqi Freedom in Al-Halil, Iraq, and in the summer of 2003. In the spring of 2004, deployed to Fallujah, Iraq, where he served as the Deputy G3 Future Operations Officer, and during Operation Iraqi Freedom 2. He also deployed to Mogadishu, Somalia during Operation Restore Hope. Brigadier General James W. Bierman is a third-generation Marine Corps officer. His father, James Wilson Bierman, retired as Lieutenant Colonel, and his grandfather was Brigadier General Charles O. Bierman. Please join me in welcoming General James Bierman.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Let me just start by saying, you can call me the keynote speaker, but what a humbling position I find myself in, having to follow after these 3 Alpha 1-3 Marines. I was just absolutely struck by the poignancy and the power of the words they have, and of course Sergeant Peralta's brother Ricardo. I can't even begin to approach or to compare to what they've already said, and I can't begin to tell you, as a commander who lost Marines in Iraq and Afghanistan, what those words meant to me. I'm tempted just to say Semper Fi and sit down, but I will try to just add some words here to what's already been said. But I can't begin to surpass what's been said. Congresswoman Davis, Congressman Hunter, Peters, Issa, and Vargas, Mayor Faulconer, Medal of Honor winner Jay Vargas, and all the other notables who are here with us today, thank you for taking the time to join us on this day. I saw Congressman Hunter had another obligation and got pulled away, but I want to take just a minute to thank him for his service as a United States Marine and for his ceaseless and unwavering fidelity to the memory of Sergeant Rafael Peralta. He has spared no effort to make sure that that story is told as it needs to be told. To the members of the Peralta family, I had the great honor of meeting you previously at the naming ceremony for the USS Peralta. I can't begin to tell you how honored and glad I am to be with you here today. Mrs. Rosa Peralta, our heart goes out to you on this special day. Thank you for entrusting not one, but two of your precious sons to the United States Marine Corps. Ricardo Peralta, you followed courageously, as has been said, not only into the Marine Corps, but into the infantry at a time when our country was at war. Well done, and I can't begin to imagine how proud your brother is of you as he looks down on us today. Ladies and gentlemen, on this Memorial Day weekend, Americans all over the country are pausing and they're paying tribute to those who have given their lives in the service of our great nation. Our thoughts and prayers also go out to those members of our arms, not only those members of our armed services who have died for our freedom, but also we take the time to remember those who are still out there on active duty as we gather here today defending our liberties. Amongst all these heroes, and this day belongs to every single one of them, today on this beautiful mountaintop, we single out one of many who gave his life for our country and our way of life, Sergeant Rafael Peralta. We know that in the process of honoring him, we also honor and salute all those who have given their lives for our freedoms. Let me tell all of you that this is an especially meaningful event for me because I feel a very special attachment to Sergeant Rafael Peralta. In July of 2005, I took command of 1st Battalion, 3rd Marines, nicknamed the Lava Dogs. This is the battalion Sergeant Peralta served with in Fallujah. Only weeks before I assumed command, 1-3 had returned from the 10-month combat deployment to Iraq in which Sergeant Peralta died. 51 total Marines and U.S. Navy corpsmen from the battalion died with Sergeant Peralta on that deployment. To this day, after 13 years of fighting in Iraq and Afghanistan, no Marine or Army battalion has paid a higher price in combat. Even as the Marines of the battalion that summer, after their return, licked their wounds and mourned their fallen brothers, they also felt a fierce pride in what they had accomplished. The men of 1-3 knew that they had met the test of combat in the Second Battle of Fallujah. They had helped wrestle the city back from the insurgents during a battle that remains to this day one of the toughest and bloodiest of the entire war in Iraq. In those initial days of command, I soon learned that the Marines of 1-3 had a hero. As they turned from one combat deployment and prepared for another that was right around the corner, they talked endlessly of Sergeant Rafael Peralta. They lionized him for committing a stunning act of courage. They treasured the knowledge that one of their own had done the right thing in the very worst of circumstances. He had shown supreme presence of mind when it counted the most. And they awaited eagerly word of recognition for his actions. I first heard the Sergeant Peralta story from some of those who were with him when he died. As I listened to them recount what had happened, it made a deep impression on me. It did then, and it does still. Not just because of Sergeant Peralta's final actions in those final seconds of his life on the floor of that dirty building in Fallujah, but because of the way he lived his entire life. Sergeant Peralta represents the very best of who we are as Americans and who we are as Marines. In the words of another U.S. congressman who spoke recently of him, Sergeant Peralta exemplified and lived the values Americans hold dear: honor, duty, and dedication to country. Sergeant Peralta's story culminates with him selflessly and unhesitatingly reaching out, grabbing a grenade, and pressing it to his heart. And in doing so, saving the lives of other Marines in his squad, some of whom are up here with us today. And that is exactly what happened. As inspiring and awesome as the account of the final seconds of Sergeant Peralta's life is, and it is truly extraordinary, it isn't the only amazing part of the story. There is even more to this story that echoes with significance, and I refer to what happened just after Sergeant Peralta died. In the minutes after that horrible, close quarters, bloody, direct fire and grenade fight, Marines from Sergeant Peralta's platoon, again, some of whom are in a place of honor with us here today, they regrouped outside the building where the action had taken place. Having watched him fall, they knew that Sergeant Peralta, the platoon guide, was still inside the building. Even with their adrenaline and emotions charged and raw from the combat, even with some of their number bleeding and wounded, it was clear what must be done. One young Marine there in that group, Lance Corporal Adam Morrison, he looked at his fellow Marines and he declared, "He's still in there. We have to go back." Nothing more needed to be said. Not knowing what awaited them, those Marines reflexively turned and headed back into the same building where they had just fiercely battled determined enemy insurgents, to the place where Sergeant Rafael Peralta lay. They were willing to risk everything. They were willing to fight again in order to get their brother back. Sergeant Peralta died keeping faith with his fellow Marines, with his brothers, and now they risked their lives to keep faith with him. As United States Marines, we also still keep faith with this hero of our Corps, Sergeant Rafael Peralta. We hold precious his memory and his example. As has been touched on already, in our recruit training and at boot camp, and I can certainly in a position to pass this on, his story is still told to every company of recruits that pass through both of our recruit depots, and his Navy Cross citation is read to every single young Marine as they pass through boot camp. Every Marine hears about this legend of our Corps. Even some 10 years after they watched him fall, the men who fought beside Sergeant Peralta have not forgotten him either. And I just want to say again how honored I am to be here with Nick Jones, with Robert Reynolds, and with Adam Morrison. Staff Sergeant Morrison, as you heard, still serves in the Corps. Also, I'll say, because it wasn't mentioned, a Purple Heart winner. And he is, as you've already put together, the young Lance Corporal who exhorted his fellow Marines to go back and look for Sergeant Peralta. And let me pause and draw your attention to the flyby. gentlemen, in wrapping up, I salute all three of them for their service and for their loyalty to the memory of Sergeant Peralta. Today, we are so proud of this fighting Marine, Sergeant Rafael Peralta. We honor his memory as a shining example of all those who have sacrificed for our great nation through the years. This is all of their day. We think of those who still serve, and we look forward to the day when all of our men and women will return home victorious and with the honor they deserve. Sergeant Rafael Peralta, we know you stand in Overwatch as we continue our journey. You're now a rich part of the history of the nation and the Marine Corps you love so much. We'll strive to live up to the example you've set and seek to honor you through our actions. Thank you for allowing me to be here with you. God bless you, and Semper Fi.
Thank you very much for this Just a few moments, the flyover will reappear from the west to perform that time-honored missing man formation. As they fly over you, please note the lights and smoke of one of the aircrafts are turned off and the pilot pulls up and away from the formation, signifying the reluctant departure from Earth of another brave warrior and the return of his soul to God's gift of eternal peace in heaven. They will be approaching from the west. Here they come. Here they come. The San Diego Salute T-34 performance team was the one that performed that beautiful salute. The team today is led by Navy veteran John Flippin. The team includes Tyler Trickey, George Watson, and Laird Bierma. Ground control today is Chris Lawler. So give him a big applause, please. I will now turn the ceremony back to Chris, who will introduce our closing commentator.
If I may, I'd like to introduce Sergeant Major Neil O'Connell, United States Marine Corps retired and a member of the Board of Trustees of the Mount Soledad Memorial Association, and he's got some closing remarks to offer.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Chris Merrill, a true supporter of veterans, if you've ever heard any of his talks. Thank you, sir. Thank you. We are greatly honored to have the Peralta family here today. Your presence here today reminds us all of the immense sacrifice and challenges that you have overcome as a Marine family. You have endured, you have never quit, and you have never let up. In closing, I am quite certain as you reflect on the heroic actions and sacrifices of this young Marine from Morse High School right here in San Diego, you will realize that he represents an era of U.S. Marines who live and work amongst us on a daily basis. They're just like the young men and women that you see graduating from our colleges and high schools this week. Or perhaps they're working at the local grocery store or at the mall. If we do not make the effort to overtake and create opportunities to honor and remember their service, I ask all of you, who will? Who among the citizens of this great nation will preserve their selfless contributions? Who will ensure that history clearly depicts these volunteers who stepped forward, those thousands of men and women, your children, your husbands, your wives, your sons and daughters, our national treasures. They are our most precious resource. They do not ask for much in return, as they are the truest form of patriots. We must never forget them, and we must vow to stand united as the uncertainty of a complicated and dangerous world will cause us to defend ourselves and our way of life. And they will one day march off to the beat of the drum into harm's way once again. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to take a moment to thank each and every one of you for joining us today. In paying your respect to those who have made the ultimate sacrifice on behalf of our great nation. We also are here to honor all veterans who have proudly served America. And we are very, very grateful and honored to have had the Peralta family here today, and also the extraordinary attendance by our elected officials, locally, statewide, and nationally. The representation from the Marine Corps Recruit Depot, General Bierman, sir, the Brass Quintet, Color Guard, and the Rifle Detail, sir, were spectacular as U.S. Marines are in most occasions such as this. As Tony mentioned earlier, we received no funding from the federal government. We are able to maintain the memorial operations through the sale of plaques. And we encourage all here today to consider securing a plaque for your veteran family member or friend, and also become a member of our association. The tables in the rear provide complete information on how you can participate in this extraordinary tribute to veterans. Thank you all for being with us, and thanks to the Old Town Trolley, whose drivers are standing by right over here to shuttle you back to your transportation and your vehicles. At this time, if I could ask you all please to stand as we close our Memorial Day commemoration with the playing and singing of God Bless America by the MCRD Brass Quintet and the La Jolla Country Day Madrigal Singers. We certainly invite the audience to sing along.
Stand beside her and guide her through the light with the night from above, from the mountains to the prairie, to the ocean, white with foam. God bless America, my home sweet home. God bless America, my beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above, from the mountains to the prairie, to the ocean, white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America.
Thank you very much, everybody. God bless our country and our nation's veterans and our military. This concludes today's program.
All right.